Next point, don't believe the hype. So this goes along kind of with what I was saying about product is 80% of your success. If you're serious about sales, you're probably watching sales. You're watching those Grant Cardone videos on YouTube. You're reading about Jordan Belfort. You're reading all the sales trainers, Zig Ziglar and all these fucking guys. The sales training industry is very much like the pickup industry. There's lots of snake oil salesmen, and the reality is 80% of sales is the product, okay? In the same way that 80% of pickup and 80% of dating is the product, which is your sexual market value. This whole 7 no's to a yes is all bullshit, okay? Yes, you can occasionally close a client who says no to you 7 times. I've seen it in the last couple years of my sales career. I saw it one time, one exceptional bit of salesmanship, which was someone who'd done business with us in the past, wasn't happy with it, and they weren't saying maybe, they were just saying no, and they were trying to get off the phone, and I saw a guy turn it around and close it. He made like $100 off the deal, it was whatever, but I saw it, and that was maybe once in 3 years where a guy took a really, really hardcore no and turned it into a yes. And I've worked with some amazing salesmen, okay? That does not happen very fucking often. The way that a deal usually closes, the 90% of your deals are going to close is it sounds good off the start. 90% of the girls that you close or the deals that you close is going to get a positive or at least like a decent reaction off the start. When the guys say, no, I don't have fucking time to talk to you, that's not going to close, okay? That deal's not going to close. When you pitch a guy, it's like, that sounds interesting. 9 times out of 10, your closes are going to look like that, okay? It is very, very simple. A close is going to sound like what you think it will, right? Before you get into sales, whatever you think a positive reaction is going to be, that's usually what it sounds like. Now, you can close a guy who's kind of maybe and on the fence. You might close one of those guys 1 or 2 times a month, but a guy that's really like on the hard no, like, fucking don't call me again, probably not going to close that guy. Maybe once a year, once every 2 years. 7 no's to yes. It's a miracle if he's still talking to you after 7 no's. More likely he's going to tell you to fuck off and hang up. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe that sales is all about, battering through these crazy objections. 80% of it is selling a product that people have interest in, and then the next 15% is putting in the numbers and just pitching enough people to finding the right guy who's interested. Okay, and then there's like a 5 to 10% area where it's salesmanship and skills. And when you think about it, it's like really the best guy in the office does maybe 20%, 25% better than the average guy, right? So there's not a whole lot of difference there. So do not believe this hype of being able to sell anyone, anything, anytime, and powering through every single no on every conversation. It just doesn't work that way, okay? It doesn't work that way. Next point, you can't compete with sociopaths. So back to the top guy in your office who's making 30, 40% better than the average guy. A lot of the time, he just has less morals. Now, I don't want to say that to take away from some guys who really just are the best and they just are really good. But picture this. Imagine you don't feel any guilt or shame. You're Jordan Belfort and you can literally call up a widow and sell her a fake stock and laugh about it. How on earth could a normal guy, compete with someone like that? You can't. You cannot do as well as a guy like that who just has no conscience and no mercy. Okay, if I want to get rich, I have the sales skills to start a pyramid scheme or a bullshit real estate investment club, or literally just pick up a phone and start selling bullshit stocks to people, right? Assuming that I could stay out of jail or whatever. I could do that today, and I could be making like $100,000 within a couple months, maybe 4 months. And pretty much every guy that I worked with in sales could do the same. Because the margins are so high in scam businesses. And I worked with, I knew a guy who advertised for, I sold a magazine and a website catering to the real estate investment market. And one of our sponsors was a guy who was running these real estate investment clubs. And before that, he had done like stock market some kind of stock market fraud, was barred from that industry, so he went to real estate, and the guy had no shame about it. He got drunk and he said that like he made $4 million off his stock market scam, had to pay $1 million in fines, and took the rest of his money and dumped it into this real estate investment club where he gets people to invest with them, and he sells people on the joys of real estate investment, pitches them from the stage, puts a hard close on them at the end of his sales pitch for his free seminar. I'm doing air quotes there. And then just takes their money and puts it into joint ventures, and that's it. So do not beat yourself up if you can't compete with the top guys in your office, or if you can't do what Jordan Belfort does, because these guys are sociopaths and they're scamming people. The top guy in your office might not be a sociopath, but he can be a guy who just doesn't really care that much and has very low empathy. Like, say you're selling real estate and you meet a newlywed couple and they don't have a ton of money, and you could push like a house with a 40-year mortgage that's way out of their price range on them, and you could really hard sell them. And if it's a really nice looking house, you could probably make it happen. And maybe there's mold in the basement that you don't know about, or that you know about that they don't, and you could push that on them anyway, right? But if you're like a normal guy with a conscience, you're gonna feel bad about that, and you're not gonna want to do that. And maybe you're gonna say, look, this house is out of your price range. We got to find you something different. But the top guy, or the guy without that conscience, is just gonna shove them in there. He's not gonna care. He's probably gonna laugh about it. And I've worked with a bunch of guys, and they don't care about. They'll laugh about just like ripping their client's face off. It's funny to them. And some of these guys you might like. They might be cool guys to hang around, but they just don't care. So if you have a conscience and you have ethics like that, you're not going to be able to compete with them. So don't try. Just do you. If you want to really compete with them, instead of being unethical, just make another 50 calls a day or put in some extra work. But don't beat yourself up, because that's just sort of the reality of the game. Another reality of the game brings us to the next point, which is sales is a numbers game. As I said before, 80% of it is your product, and the other 10 to 15% is just putting in the numbers. The more people you call, the more people that you talk to door to door, the better your number is going to be, right? If you want to double your income, double the amount of people you talk to. It's that simple. If the average guy is working in your industry 7 hours a day, you work 14 hours a day, you're going to double his income. That's the end of it. End of discussion. Next point, skills are overrated. As I said before, on a large scale, the close rate between a good salesman and a great salesman is only maybe 2%, maybe 5%. Similar to a decent player in day game, right? A guy who's good with women can close 7%. I close 7% in day game. A guy who's decent will do like 3 to 5%. Not a whole lot of difference. Maybe 2 women out of 100, right? From a guy who's really good with women to a guy who's just pretty good or decent with them. Because skills are overrated, and 80% of the game is the product, and another 10 to 15% is playing the numbers game, right? That's the reality. And this really kicked in for me when I worked with a Croatian guy who had been in the country since he was 15. Okay, I'm not going to beat up on a guy who just came to the country, but he'd been in the country for 15 years, or maybe more, like 17 years, from 15 to 32. His English was horrendous, and one time he used a triple negative in a sentence. Triple negative. I'd never heard anyone speak a triple negative in my life. And not only that, but it wasn't even a good pitch. We were selling commercial currency, and he said, "You don't need no currency or nothing." Literally like that. And I looked, and I was stunned for like 30 seconds, because this guy wasn't making that much less money than I was. He wasn't. And it really got me thinking, like, first of all, how am I working here? What did I do to end up here that I'm working with a guy like this? Where did I go wrong? And second of all the little nuances and inflections that I'm using and that I'm thinking that are making me closing these deals aren't, right? Really, it's just that there's an interest in my product, and I've just called enough people. And yes, I was a better salesman than him, but The difference in our numbers was not that much. He was an average guy. I was a good guy. I was not the best, but I was better than average. But at the end of the day, I was not doing crazy much more than him. And that to me was astounding when someone can be that horrible at sales. But he just hammered the phone all day. So skills are, at the end of the day, skills are important for high value transactions with limited competitions. Like if you're selling aerospace and the client only has 2 places to go to buy that plane, right? And the sales cycle is 3 years. Okay, you really have to be on your game to sell that. But like just average sales where it's a numbers game, skills are very overrated. It's about the product and it's about playing the numbers game. Those are the most important things. Next point, don't oversell. All right. This is one of the cardinal rules in sales is when a guy is about to buy or making a buying decision, shut the fuck up. Okay. If he has closed and agreed to buying with you, shut the fuck up. Right. Because at this point, all you can do is fuck up the deal by giving him reasons to ask more questions or doubt his decision. When he signs on that line, you shut the fuck up, and all you're doing is trying to get him off the phone with certainty and, okay, all right, I'm sending you over the contract. Okay, we just need you to sign this, and then here's the payment plan. Great to have you on board. Done, right? Not, you're really going to like this product, and if you have any problems, if you have a problem with this and that, don't worry about it. I'm going to handle it, and, we're really happy. No, okay? You closed him, it's done. Same with girls. She agrees to come home with you. Oh, that's great. Man, I'm really excited. We're going to have a great time. Okay, are you sure you want to come over? Because blah, 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 right? Terrible. Just, all right, let's go. It's done, closed, shut your fucking mouth. Next point. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Confidence comes after the fact, unfortunately. A lot of guys ask me, how do I approach a girl? I'm really nervous to do it. You've got approach anxiety. You just fucking do it anyways. You just say, come on, don't be a pussy. Just get in there. Just do it, right? And when I look back through my life, there are so much of the guy that I am now is the result of those moments. And I can remember some of them very clearly. Going to middle school for the first day, going to high school for the first day, going to university, living away from home for the first time, first job interview, first cold call in sales, first in-person client meeting where you're trying to close someone, first date, first approach of a girl on the street, all these things, right? I was just as scared as anyone else. I was walking around in clothes, feeling like a little boy in grown-ups' clothes, nervous. I'm sure it showed on my face. But you go in there and you do it enough times, and you're not afraid anymore, right? I'm at the point now where I'm not, none of this shit worries me anymore, right? Because I've put the work in and I've done it, and you get the rewards after. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. You just got to do it. You got to sack up. You got to do it, and then after you feel great. One great way to really, what I used to do, whether it was talking to a girl or pitching a client or whatever, is I would just reward myself just for doing it. Okay, if you're really scared to talk to a girl right now, just say, look, all I have to do today is for the next month, I'm just going to talk to one girl, and then I get to go have a good meal. Okay, so you're doing it, you're terrified, you can't think straight while you're talking to her. You're just like, okay, you're like, I'm going to go ask her for the time, and then I'm going to try and ask her 3 questions and have a pleasant conversation for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to go home. Then I get to go home and eat a pizza, right? Depending on where your comfort level is. Maybe your comfort level is higher and it's like, okay, I'm going to ask for this girl's phone number. I'm going to ask her on a date. But reward yourself just for doing it. You're going on you're 21, you're going on your first client meeting and your first client presentation. Okay, reward yourself. Just say, look, I just have to get through this. You got butterflies in the elevator going up. You feel like you're going to shit yourself. You say, just okay, man, just get through this day, get through this meeting. Then I'm going to go home. I'm going to have a pizza. I'm going to relax. I'm going to put my sweatpants on. It's going to be terrific. Okay? So feel the fear and do it anyway, and then reward yourself just for manning up and doing it. Next point. Don't sell through email or voicemail. Okay? Real sales is done over the phone or in person. An email is way too easy to ignore in this day and age. And this was a problem we had when I still worked in sales. A lot of millennial kids just were too pussy to call people by the phone. They were trying to close everyone over email. It's no good. Maybe in the future, the phone is going to be phased out. But even right now in 2016, the phone is still the best way to sell someone, because an email is so easy to ignore. Because you send a guy an email, he's going to have 5 or 10 objections right off the bat about why it's not a good fit for him. When you're on the phone with a guy, you can handle his objections real time. Bang, 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 right? Everything he says, you object. Not only that, but he gets to hear that he's dealing with someone who's confident. He's dealing with someone who's competent. He's dealing with someone who's certain. He's getting a feel for you and that he likes you and that you can develop a rapport. None of that you can do over email, right? The email is just strictly on the product, and he's either going to be in or out. So you lose a lot on that, on just the email. And okay, there's some situations where you do have to email, like when the person just does not answer their phone, and you've tried all the people in the company who are potential, who could potentially sign off on your product. Okay, you got to email. Or if it's like an advertising agency in ad sales, when you're dealing with marketing companies, like you're trying to sell to an insurance company, but you have to go through their marketing company. And a lot of the time, their marketing company, the account manager is like a 21-year-old girl who does not answer their phone whatsoever. So you got to pitch them in an email. Hey, I spoke with so-and-so at this company about this ad package. I'm going to send it to you, and they have all certain metrics. And in that industry, email is sort of the way that you contact those people. But use email as kind of like the last resort. Like, you called the guy for 2 weeks, you can't get a hold of him. Because at the end of the day, like, that is what the salesmanship is about. If you could just spam emails out, then there wouldn't be salesmen. There wouldn't be guys getting paid $400,000 to sell, right? If you could just hammer everyone in an email. But it doesn't work that way. Same with girls. Like, Tinder's great, online dating's great, but day game is the best way to pitch a girl, period. And you want to pitch her in person if you can. My close rate in online dating for OkCupid is 1 in 100, but with women it's 1 in day game, it's 1 in 15. So use, like, that's not a perfect example. It's not a perfect carryover, but for pro sales, use email or voicemail is a last resort. Voicemail is even worse because no one checks their fucking voicemail. And I've worked for companies where if they hear a guy pitching someone over a voicemail, they'll fire him just for that alone, because it's such a horrible, useless way to get someone's attention. Next point, calibrate. Sales is seduction, and seduction is a female skill, and that means to excel, you need to have sensitivity. You have to be sensitive to every beat, every pause in the conversation, to know what that guy is trying to communicate at all times. If you don't have that, you're not a good salesman. You got to be thinking and acting and talking, whether it's selling a girl or selling a client. What are they trying to communicate, and am I well calibrated to what they're saying?